Hello and welcome to today's episode. We're so glad you could join us. In today's podcast, we'll be tackling a challenge many English learners face: how to overcome the fear of speaking English. If you often feel nervous, shy, or afraid to speak in English, you're not alone. We'll share practical tips, real-life stories, and strategies to build your confidence.
That's right. By the end of this episode, you'll have new ways to deal with your fear and practice speaking more comfortably. Remember, listening to podcasts like this one is a fantastic way to improve your English skills. It helps you get used to the natural flow of conversation, pick up new vocabulary, and become more confident in using English daily.
Let's start by talking about the fear itself. A lot of people are afraid of making mistakes when speaking English. They're worrying about being judged or misunderstood. But the truth is, everyone makes mistakes when learning a language, and that's completely normal.
Exactly. I often tell learners that the fear of making mistakes can hold them back from improving. Instead of focusing on perfection, it's better to focus on progress. Mistakes are part of the learning process.
And honestly, most people are understanding. Native speakers don't expect perfection. They appreciate the effort. The more you speak, the more confident you'll become.
Think of it like exercising a muscle. The more you practice speaking, the stronger your skills will get. Over time, your fear will fade away as you get used to the rhythm of conversation.
So, how can we start overcoming this fear? One helpful tip is to begin with simple conversations. Start by speaking English with people you're comfortable with, like friends or family. This creates a safe environment where you won't feel judged.
That's a great point. Another tip is to prepare common phrases in advance. For example, if you know you'll need to introduce yourself or ask for directions, practice those phrases ahead of time. This will give you confidence when the moment comes.
Yes, and remember, it's okay to take your time when speaking. You don't have to rush through your sentences. Pausing to think or breathe is perfectly fine and will help reduce anxiety.
I also recommend celebrating small wins. Even if you only spoke a few sentences today, that's progress. Every time you speak, you're moving one step closer to fluency.
Real-life situations can be intimidating, but they're also the best practice. Start by speaking in low-pressure situations, like ordering food at a restaurant or asking simple questions in stores. These situations give you a chance to use English without much pressure. Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask for clarification if you don't understand something. Asking someone to repeat or explain something is completely normal and will help you feel more in control of the conversation.
Sometimes just starting the conversation is the hardest part. Once you get going, the fear starts to disappear. The key is to take that first step, even if it's a small one.
Technology can be a great tool to help you practice speaking English. Apps like language exchange platforms connect you with native speakers around the world. You can practice speaking with people who are also learning your language, which creates a comfortable exchange.
Yes, and practicing online gives you a bit of a buffer. You can chat from home, which takes away some of the pressure. You can also join online discussion groups or English speaking clubs where everyone is there to practice and improve.
Another good option is using voice recordings. You can record yourself speaking and listen back to notice areas of improvement. This can help you get used to hearing your own voice in English, which is often something learners find strange at first.
And don't forget podcasts. Listening to conversations like this one helps you familiarize yourself with natural speech patterns. And it's a great way to learn new vocabulary and phrases that you can try in your own conversations.
A big part of overcoming the fear of speaking is dealing with the fear of being judged. Many learners worrying that others will criticize their English or make fun of their mistakes. But the reality is, most people are supportive when they hear someone trying to learn their language.
That's true. Native speakers often admire the effort it takes to learn a second language. And remember, everyone who is fluent now was a beginner at some point. It's okay to not be perfect, it's part of the journey.
Absolutely. And even if you do come across someone who's not understanding, don't let that discourage you. Focus on the positive interactions and keep moving forward. Your confidence will grow with each conversation.
One mindset that helps is to view mistakes as learning opportunities. Each time you make an error, it's a chance to improve. Instead of feeling embarrassed, think of it as a step towards becoming better.
To overcome fear, it's essential to build a regular practice routine. Try setting aside time each day to speak English, whether with friends, family, or even by talking to yourself. Consistency is key.
Yes, and make sure to balance practice with other forms of learning, like reading and listening. The more you immerse yourself in English, the more natural it will feel to speak it.
Another tip is to join language exchange groups or meetups in your area. Surrounding yourself with others who are learning English creates a supportive environment where everyone is working towards the same goal.
And finally, don't be too hard on yourself. Learning a language is a long process, and it's okay to have ups and downs. What's important is to keep practicing and stay motivated.
Mindset plays a huge role in overcoming the fear of speaking English. If you approach speaking with the belief that it's okay to make mistakes and that it's a learning process, you'll feel more comfortable.
Exactly. I like to remind learners that fluency doesn't happen overnight. It's about progress, not perfection. Adopting a growth mindset, believing that your skills will improve with effort, makes a big difference.
And it's also helpful to focus on the positives. Celebrate your small successes, like having a conversation or learning a new word. Positive reinforcement helps you build confidence.
One strategy that's helped many learners is visualizing success. Before you speak, imagine yourself having a smooth conversation. This can reduce anxiety and make you feel more prepared.
One of the best ways to overcome fear is through regular practice. The more often you speak, the less intimidating it becomes. Even if it's just a few minutes a day, consistent practice helps.
That's right, and it doesn't always have to be formal practice either. Try incorporating English into your daily life by speaking to yourself, narrating your activities, or practicing with a language partner.
Another thing to remember is that it's okay to start small. You don't have to dive into complex conversations right away. Start with easier topics, like talking about your day or discussing your hobbies.
As you gain more confidence with simpler topics, you can gradually move on to more challenging conversations. The key is to build up your skills over time without overwhelming yourself.
Public speaking in any language can be daunting, but doing it in English as a second language can feel even more intimidating. One way to overcome this fear is to prepare thoroughly. Rehearse what you plan to say and practice in front of a mirror or with a friend.
Absolutely. Preparation gives you a sense of control, which helps reduce anxiety. Another tip is to focus on your message, not on yourself. If you're focused on the value of what you're saying, you'll be less worried about how you're saying it.
Also, start by speaking in smaller, more familiar settings, like a group of friends or a language class. Once you feel more comfortable in these situations, you'll find it easier to speak in front of larger groups.
Taking deep breaths before speaking and slowing down your speech can also help calm your nerves. It's perfectly fine to take your time and gather your thoughts while speaking.
One of the most common fears is being misunderstood when speaking English. This fear can make you hesitate or even avoid speaking altogether. But it's important to remember that communication isn't just about perfection, it's about getting your message across.
Exactly. Even if you make a mistake or don't use the perfect words, most people will still understand your meaning. If you're unsure, you can always ask, "Did that make sense?" Or "Do you understand what I mean?"
And if someone doesn't understand, it's okay to rephrase or try again. The key is to stay calm and patient. Misunderstandings happen in every language, even between native speakers.
I like to think of it this way. The more you speak, the better you become at making yourself understood. Don't let the fear of one or two misunderstandings hold you back from practicing.
Having a strong support system can really help with overcoming the fear of speaking English. Whether it's friends, family, or language partners, having people who encourage and support you makes a big difference.
Definitely. Surround yourself with people who understand your goals and can provide constructive feedback. This kind of support can boost your confidence and push you to practice more.
And don't be afraid to seek out communities of English learners. Many people are in the same situation, and sharing your experiences with others can make the process feel less isolating.
Learning with others can be motivating. You'll see that everyone has struggles, but you can also celebrate each other's progress, which helps keep the learning process fun and encouraging.
Another effective way to overcome the fear of speaking English is through active listening. When you listen carefully to others, you pick up on how they phrase things, their pronunciation, and the way they structure sentences. This not only improves your own skills, but also helps you feel more confident when it's your turn to speak.
That's a great point, Jennifer. The more you listen, the more familiar the language becomes. Try listening to podcasts, watching movies, or even talking to native speakers if you have the chance. The goal is to expose yourself to real-life English as much as possible.
Absolutely. It's important to listen for the flow of conversations, too. This will help you develop a natural rhythm in your own speaking. Active listening also helps you respond appropriately, which can make conversations smoother and less stressful.
Right, and it also takes the pressure off you to talk constantly. When you're a good listener, conversations become more about exchange rather than a performance, which can really reduce the fear of speaking.
Positive self-talk can be a powerful tool to overcome the fear of speaking English. Before speaking, tell yourself, "I can do this," or "it's okay to make mistakes." These simple affirmations can help shift your mindset from fear to confidence.
Exactly, Jennifer. Our thoughts have a big impact on how we feel. If you keep telling yourself that you're not good enough or that people won't understand you, it's going to make speaking much harder. But if you remind yourself that every conversation is an opportunity to improve, you'll feel more at ease.
It's also helpful to reflect on your progress. Think about the conversations you've had in English so far, no matter how small. Each one is a step toward fluency. By focusing on how far you've come, you can reduce the anxiety of how far you still have to go.
And don't forget to be patient with yourself. Learning a language is a journey, and it's completely normal to feel nervous at times. Just remember that you're making progress with every conversation, and that's something to be proud of.
One way to handle the fear of difficult conversations in English is by preparing in advance. If you know you're going to have a conversation about a specific topic like at work, or during a meeting, take some time to research key vocabulary and practice what you might say.
That's a great idea. Preparation can really help ease anxiety. Write down a few key points or phrases you might use during the conversation and practice saying them out loud. The more prepared you feel, the less anxious you'll be.
And don't be afraid to pause during the conversation if you need to gather your thoughts. It's okay to take your time, and most people will appreciate that you're trying to communicate clearly rather than rushing through your words.
I agree. Pausing not only gives you time to think, but also shows confidence. It's much better to take a moment to collect your thoughts than to feel rushed or flustered. Remember, everyone has been in your shoes at some point, even native speakers.
One way to keep your motivation up and reduce fear is by celebrating your small wins. Did you have a conversation without needing to translate in your head? That's a win. Did you ask for directions or order food in English? Another win.
That's right. Learning a language is all about the small victories, and those wins build your confidence over time. It's easy to focus on the things you don't know, but it's so important to acknowledge how much you've already learned.
By celebrating your progress, you reinforce positive behavior, and that reduces the fear of future conversations. The more wins you collect, the more confident you'll feel the next time you speak English.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to reward yourself for making progress. Whether it's a personal reward, like treating yourself to something special, or simply acknowledging your growth, these small steps are essential for overcoming fear.
One great way to overcome the fear of speaking English is by practicing with a language partner. When you have someone to speak with regularly, it becomes easier to gain confidence. It's also a great way to get used to real-life conversations without the pressure of speaking in a formal setting.
Yes, having a language partner provides a safe space to make mistakes and learn from them. You can try out new words and phrases, experiment with different ways of expressing yourself, and get feedback in a supportive environment.
Plus, with a language partner, you can both learn from each other. It's a great way to practice conversational skills and get comfortable with different topics. And if you make mistakes, your partner can help correct you without judgment.
And over time, you'll notice that your fear decreases because you're getting used to speaking in English. The more you practice with someone, the less intimidating it becomes to speak in everyday situations.
Another common fear when speaking English is the pressure to be perfect. But here's the thing: nobody speaks perfectly all the time, not even native speakers. Letting go of the need to be perfect can actually help you feel more relaxed and confident.
Absolutely, Jennifer. Trying to be perfect can often hold people back. If you focus too much on saying everything perfectly, you might hesitate or avoid speaking altogether. But making mistakes is part of the learning process.
Exactly. The key is to focus on communicating your message, not on being flawless. Most people won't even notice small mistakes, especially if you're able to express yourself clearly. The more you focus on being understood rather than being perfect, the less fear you'll feel.
And remember, every mistake is a learning opportunity. When you embrace mistakes as part of the process, it takes the pressure off. You start to see speaking as practice rather than a test.
Speaking English in formal situations, like presentations or interviews, can be especially nerve-wracking. But one way to manage those nerves is to focus on your preparation. The more prepared you are, the more confident you'll feel.
That's so true. If you have a big presentation or interview, practicing in advance can make a huge difference. Rehearse what you plan to say, and if possible, practice in front of a mirror or with a friend to get used to speaking under pressure.
Another tip is to take deep breaths before you start speaking. When you're nervous, your breathing can become shallow, which makes you feel even more anxious. Slowing down your breathing can help calm your nerves and give you more control over your voice.
And remember to slow down when you're speaking. When people are nervous, they tend to speak too quickly. Speaking more slowly not only helps calm your nerves, but also makes it easier for others to understand you.
Sometimes we focus so much on not making mistakes that we forget the most important thing: communicating our message. When you're speaking English, try to shift your focus away from the fear of making mistakes and towards the message you want to share.
That's a great point, Jennifer. At the end of the day, language is about connection. If you can get your message across, even if it's not perfect, you've succeeded. The more you focus on the message, the less you'll worry about making mistakes.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that most people are more interested in what you're saying than how you're saying it. If you're clear and confident in your message, small errors won't matter.
And over time, as you keep speaking, those mistakes will naturally decrease. But the most important thing is to keep communicating, no matter what. Each conversation is a chance to improve.
When overcoming the fear of speaking English, it's important to practice self-compassion. Don't be too hard on yourself if you stumble over a word or make a mistake. Learning a language takes time, and it's okay to not get everything right the first time.
Yes, being kind to yourself is key. If you criticize yourself too much, it can make speaking feel even more daunting. Instead, try to treat yourself the way you would encourage a friend who's learning. Be patient and celebrate your progress.
Exactly. And remind yourself that everyone who's learning a language goes through the same process. It's normal to feel nervous, But it's also important to give yourself credit for the effort you're putting in.
When you practice self-compassion, it reduces the fear of failure. You'll feel more willing to take risks, like speaking up in conversations or trying new phrases. And that's how real progress is made.
Another strategy to overcome the fear of speaking English is surrounding yourself with a supportive environment. Whether it's friends, language partners, or even online communities, having people who encourage and support you can make a big difference.
That's true. When you practice with people who are patient and understanding, it makes speaking feel less intimidating. You're more willing to take risks and try new things without the fear of being judged.
Exactly, Daniel. And these people can also provide constructive feedback, helping you improve in a positive way. Whether it's correcting your grammar or suggesting better ways to express your ideas, feedback from supportive people can help build your confidence.
Yes, and it's important to seek out those opportunities to practice. The more you engage with others in a low-pressure environment, the more your fear will decrease, and the more natural it will feel to speak.
Another great way to overcome your fear is to incorporate English into your daily life. The more you use it in everyday situations, the more confident you'll become over time.
Right. You don't have to wait for formal situations to practice speaking. You can start by using English in simple, everyday tasks like ordering food at a restaurant, asking for directions, or even chatting with colleagues.
Exactly. The more you do this, the more familiar English will become in your day-to-day life. And because these situations are often low stakes, they're a great way to build your confidence without too much pressure.
And it's important to remind yourself that you don't need to be perfect in these situations. The goal is just to communicate. As you become more comfortable using English in these small moments, it'll help you overcome the fear in bigger conversations.
Another helpful strategy is to join an English conversation group. These groups are designed specifically to help people practice speaking in a friendly and supportive environment.
Yes, and the great thing about conversation groups is that everyone is there to learn, so there's no pressure to be perfect. You can practice speaking without worrying about making mistakes, and you'll get the chance to interact with people from different backgrounds.
It's also a fantastic way to build confidence because you're getting regular practice. The more you speak, the less intimidating it will become. Plus, you'll learn from the conversations you have with others.
And if you're nervous about joining a group, remember that everyone starts somewhere. The more you participate, the more comfortable you'll feel. And soon enough, speaking English will start to feel more natural.
One powerful way to stay motivated and reduce fear is by tracking your progress. When you keep track of the improvements you've made, it reminds you that you're growing and getting better.
Yes, sometimes it's easy to focus on what you still can't do, but by looking back and seeing how far you've come, it boosts your confidence. Maybe a year ago you couldn't have a full conversation in English, but now you can, even if it's not perfect.
Exactly. Whether it's keeping a journal, recording yourself, or noting down new vocabulary you've learned, these small wins show that you're improving every day. And that can help reduce the fear of speaking because you'll see that you're making real progress.
And as you notice that progress, you'll also feel more motivated to keep going. You'll start to believe in your ability to improve, which naturally helps overcome any fear or doubt you might have.
Finally, a simple but effective way to practice and reduce fear is by speaking in front of a mirror. This helps you get used to hearing yourself speak English and boosts your confidence.
That's a great tip, Jennifer. When you speak in front of a mirror, you can also focus on your facial expressions and body language. It's a low-pressure way to practice speaking without worrying about making mistakes.
It's a great way to build up your confidence before speaking in front of others. Plus, it gives you a chance to practice pronunciation and get comfortable with how you sound in English.
And over time, this simple practice can make a big difference. The more comfortable you feel speaking alone, the easier it will be to speak confidently in front of others.
Another way to ease the fear of speaking English is by creating a safe space to practice. This could be a private space where you can practice on your own, like recording yourself, or a low-pressure environment with a trusted friend.
Yes, Jennifer. When you're practicing in a space where you feel safe, it reduces anxiety. You can experiment with new words or phrases without worrying about being judged. And if you record yourself, you can listen back and reflect on your progress.
Exactly. Listening to yourself can be a powerful tool for improvement. You might notice things you wouldn't in a live conversation, like areas where you pause too much or struggle with pronunciation. Plus, over time, you'll start to notice how much you improve, which builds confidence.
And when you're ready, you can invite others into that space to give feedback. Whether it's a teacher or a friend, their input can help you grow even more while still feeling safe and supported.
Sometimes, overcoming the fear of speaking English is about changing your mindset. One way to do this is by using positive affirmations. Remind yourself daily that you're capable of improving and that you can become a confident English speaker.
Absolutely. Affirmations can help shift your mental focus. Instead of thinking I'm bad at English, try saying I'm getting better every day. Positive self-talk encourages you to believe in your ability to succeed.
And it's not just about saying the words, but believing in them. The more you tell yourself you can improve, the more you'll be willing to take risks in speaking, which ultimately leads to progress.
Exactly. It's about breaking the cycle of fear with positive reinforcement. Every time you practice speaking English, remind yourself that it's okay to make mistakes and that every mistake is a step toward becoming fluent.
One way to become a more confident speaker is by developing your listening skills. When you hear English spoken in different contexts, like podcasts, movies, or everyday conversations, you start to understand how the language flows.
That's true. Listening helps you pick up on the natural rhythm, tone, and vocabulary used in everyday English. And as you become more familiar with it, you'll feel more comfortable using it in your own speech.
Exactly. The more you listen, the more confident you'll feel when it's your turn to speak. You'll start to recognize patterns and common phrases, which makes speaking feel less intimidating.
And listening to native speakers also helps with pronunciation. You can mimic what you hear and practice saying words in the same way, which will help you sound more natural when speaking.
Another great way to feel more confident when speaking is by using visual cues to help communicate your message. Sometimes when words fail, gestures, facial expressions, or even body language can help you express what you mean.
That's a fantastic tip, Jennifer. Nonverbal communication plays a big role in how we connect with others. Even if your words aren't perfect, using body language can fill in the gaps and make your message clearer.
Yes, and this can also take some of the pressure off of finding the exact right word. If you're speaking and forget a word, don't panic. Use your hands or expressions to explain what you mean. Most of the time, people will understand.
Absolutely. It's another tool to help you feel less stressed about speaking. Plus, using visual cues can help build a connection with the person you're speaking to, making the conversation flow more naturally.
When it comes to overcoming the fear of speaking English, remember that it's all about taking small, manageable steps. You don't need to become fluent overnight. Each conversation, each practice session is a step toward fluency.
That's right, Jennifer. Start with smaller goals, like having a short conversation with a friend or practicing for a few minutes each day. As you accomplish these smaller goals, your confidence will grow and soon you'll be ready for bigger challenges.
Exactly. The key is consistency. Speaking English regularly, even in short bursts, will help you build confidence and reduce fear. The more you practice, the more natural it will feel. And remember, it's okay to make mistakes along the way. Every time you speak, you're improving, and that's what counts. Celebrate each step forward, no matter how small, and keep going. One of the best ways to overcome the fear of speaking English is through role-playing. It's a fun way to simulate real-life situations where you might need to speak English, like ordering food at a restaurant or asking for directions.
Yes, role-playing gives you a chance to practice speaking in a safe environment before you face the real thing. It helps reduce anxiety because you get familiar with different scenarios. Plus, it can be a great way to make mistakes and learn from them without pressure.
Exactly. You can practice with a friend or even on your own by imagining different situations. The more you practice through role-playing, the more confident you'll feel when you're in an actual conversation.
And if you practice enough, you'll start to notice that when those situations come up in real life, you're not as nervous because you've already rehearsed how to respond. It's a great way to turn fear into confidence.
Another great way to build your confidence is by practicing with native speakers. Even though it might seem intimidating at first, native speakers can help you understand the nuances of the language and guide you when you make mistakes.
That's so true. Native speakers usually appreciate when non-native speakers are trying to learn their language and are often very encouraging. And when you speak with them, you get to hear how the language is used naturally, which helps you improve faster.
Exactly. Plus, they can provide instant feedback, which is incredibly helpful. They can correct your pronunciation, suggest better phrases, and even explain idioms or expressions that aren't always clear in textbooks. A great way to practice speaking English regularly is by joining conversation clubs or groups. These are spaces where people gather to practice speaking in a supportive environment, and it's a great opportunity to overcome fear.
Yes, conversation clubs are fantastic because they bring together learners at different levels. You get to practice with people who are also learning, so there's no judgment, just support.
Exactly. And what's great about these groups is that they often have structured conversations on various topics, which helps you become comfortable speaking in different situations.
It also makes speaking a habit. The more you attend, the less fear you'll have because you're speaking regularly in a low-stress environment. And you can make friends who can support you on your language learning journey.
I think one of the most important things to remember is that making mistakes is a natural part of learning. When it comes to speaking English, it's okay to make mistakes. Everyone does.
Yes, Jennifer, mistakes are just opportunities to learn. Instead of seeing them as failures, try to see them as stepping stones toward improvement. When you make a mistake, you learn something new that helps you get better.
Exactly. And the more you accept that mistakes are part of the process, the less afraid you'll be to speak. You'll become more focused on communicating and learning, rather than being perfect.
That's a great mindset to have. Remember, every mistake you make gets you closer to fluency. So, don't be afraid of them, embrace them, and keep practicing.
Another helpful tip is to break down conversations into smaller, manageable parts. If you find it overwhelming to carry on a long conversation in English, start by focusing on simple exchanges, like greetings or asking for basic information.
That's right, Jennifer. Sometimes people think they need to speak in long, complicated sentences, but really effective communication can happen in short, simple exchanges. It takes the pressure off when you realize you don't need to say everything perfectly.
Exactly. For instance, if you're in a store and want to ask for help, you don't have to explain everything in one go. Start with "Excuse me, can you help me?" and then take it from there. Breaking it down into smaller parts makes it less intimidating.
Yes, and as you gain confidence with these smaller parts, you can gradually build up to longer conversations. The important thing is to take it step by step, and before you know it, you'll be speaking English more comfortably.
That's a key point. The fear of speaking often comes from feeling like you need to be perfect. But if you approach conversations in smaller, bite-sized pieces, it becomes easier and less stressful. When trying to overcome the fear of speaking English, it's important to set realistic goals. Don't expect to become fluent overnight. Instead, set small, achievable goals like introducing yourself or ordering food in English.
Exactly. Jennifer, setting realistic goals helps you stay motivated. If your goal is too big, it can feel discouraging if you don't reach it quickly. But with smaller goals, you can see progress faster, which builds confidence.
Right. For example, you can start with a goal to practice speaking for 5 minutes each day. Over time, you can increase that to 10 or 15 minutes as you become more comfortable.
And the beauty of small goals is that they add up. If you practice speaking for just a few minutes each day, by the end of the month, you'll have spent hours practicing without even realizing it.
So remember to celebrate each small victory. Every time you complete a conversation or practice speaking, you're getting closer to fluency. And that's something to be proud of. In today's world, technology can be a great tool to help overcome the fear of speaking English. There are apps, websites, and online platforms where you can practice speaking, either by recording yourself or even by speaking with others around the world.
Yes, there are so many resources available now. Language exchange apps, for example, connect you with native speakers or other learners, allowing you to practice in real conversations without leaving your home.
Exactly. Some apps even provide feedback on your pronunciation or suggest improvements in your speaking. It's like having a virtual tutor who's available anytime you need practice.
Plus, with online communities and forums, you can engage in conversations with people from all over the world. This helps you get used to different accents and speaking styles, which makes you more adaptable in real-life conversations.
And technology allows you to practice at your own pace. Whether you want to speak for 5 minutes or an hour, you have the flexibility to fit practice into your schedule. It's a great way to build confidence in a low-pressure environment. One thing that can really boost your confidence when speaking English is receiving positive feedback. It's important to acknowledge the progress you're making, even if it feels small.
That's right, Jennifer. Positive feedback reinforces your learning. When someone acknowledges your efforts, it makes you feel more confident to keep going, and that can reduce the fear of speaking.
And it's not just about feedback from others. You can also give yourself positive feedback. After you finish a conversation, take a moment to think about what you did well, whether it was using a new word or speaking without hesitating.
Exactly. Focusing on your strengths helps you stay motivated. And when you hear encouragement from others, whether it's a teacher, friend, or even someone you're speaking to in English, it reminds you that you're on the right track.
Positive feedback acts like fuel for your progress. Every time someone acknowledges your improvement, it helps you push past the fear and gives you the confidence to try again, improving little by little. One great way to reduce the fear of speaking English is by practicing in low-stakes situations. These are scenarios where there isn't a lot of pressure or expectation, so you can feel more relaxed while practicing.
Yes, like speaking with someone who is also learning English or talking to a friendly local who's patient with learners. When you know there's no rush or pressure, you can focus more on expressing yourself without worrying about making mistakes.
Exactly. Even practicing at home, like speaking to yourself in the mirror or describing what you're doing out loud, is a great way to get comfortable with the language. These small moments can make a big difference in building your confidence.
And the more you practice in these low-stakes situations, the less intimidating the higher-stakes ones, like job interviews or presentations, will feel. It's all about getting used to hearing yourself speak English and feeling okay about it.
It's also helpful because these situations allow you to slow down and focus on clarity. There's no rush, so you can think about what you're saying and practice delivering your words clearly and confidently. It's also helpful because these situations allow you to slow down and focus on clarity. There's no rush, so you can think about what you're saying and practice delivering your words clearly and confidently.
Yes, this mental practice can be very effective. It's like rehearsing a conversation in your head before it happens. When you visualize yourself succeeding, you're preparing your brain to handle the situation better when it happens for real.
Exactly. You can imagine specific scenarios like introducing yourself at a party or answering a question in class. Picture yourself handling these situations with ease, and it will help reduce anxiety when you're actually speaking.
And the best part about visualization is that it helps shift your mindset. Instead of focusing on what could go wrong, you're training your brain to focus on what could go right, which lowers your fear.
Over time, as you keep visualizing these successful conversations, you'll feel more prepared and more capable of handling real-life interactions. It's a simple but powerful way to build confidence and calm your nerves. One of the best ways to overcome the fear of speaking English is to surround yourself with a supportive community. Being part of a group where others are also learning or where people encourage you can really help ease your anxiety.
Absolutely. In a supportive community, whether it's an online forum, a local language club, or a study group, everyone understands what it's like to learn a language. There's no judgment, and you can feel more comfortable practicing with others who are in the same boat.
Exactly. And when you're in an environment where mistakes are seen as part of the learning process, it becomes much easier to speak up. You don't feel as scared to make errors because everyone is there to support each other.
These communities often create a safe space where you can try new words or phrases without fear of criticism. It's a great way to practice speaking in a relaxed setting and build friendships along the way.
Plus, speaking in a group setting can help you get used to different accents, tones, and conversation styles. This makes you more adaptable in real-life situations and helps you develop the confidence to speak in larger groups. Another effective way to reduce the fear of speaking English is to track your progress over time. Keeping a record of your improvement can remind you how far you've come, which can be very motivating.
Yes, Jennifer. Sometimes, when you're learning a new language, it feels like you're not improving because the changes happen gradually. But if you keep a journal or record your speaking practice, you'll start to see how much you've grown.
Exactly. You could keep a voice diary where you record yourself speaking once a week. After a few months, go back and listen to your earlier recordings. It's amazing how much progress you can hear in your pronunciation, fluency, and confidence.
And seeing that progress can help reduce your fear because it reminds you that improvement is happening, even if it's slow. When you realize how far you've come, it becomes easier to focus on continuing that journey rather than worrying about mistakes.
Tracking your progress also gives you clear goals to work toward. You can set milestones like I want to speak for 5 minutes without hesitation, and when you reach them, it boosts your confidence even more. One of the most effective ways to overcome the fear of speaking English is to engage in everyday conversations. The more you practice, the less intimidating it becomes.
That's so true. It doesn't have to be a formal conversation or a big presentation. Even just chatting with a friend or asking a store clerk a question is valuable practice. These little moments build up your confidence.
Exactly. Everyday interactions, like ordering food, asking for directions, or making small talk with a neighbor, can help you become more comfortable speaking English. These are low-pressure conversations where you can practice without fear.
And because these situations are part of daily life, they're great opportunities to practice without overthinking it. You're focusing on the task at hand, like buying a coffee rather than stressing about your language skills.
Plus, the more you engage in these daily conversations, the more natural speaking English will feel. It will start to become a part of your routine, and over time, the fear will lessen as you gain more experience. Another excellent way to overcome the fear of speaking English is by using language apps. These apps often have features that allow you to practice speaking in a low-pressure environment, which is really beneficial.
Absolutely. Many of these apps offer speech recognition technology, allowing you to practice pronunciation and receive immediate feedback. This can help you build confidence in your speaking skills without the pressure of a live conversation.
Yes, plus, some apps have chat features where you can practice written English and even have voice chats with other learners or tutors. This is a great way to simulate real conversations while still being in a safe environment.
And the best part is that you can practice at your own pace. If you feel nervous about speaking, you can do it in your own time without the stress of a classroom or group setting.
Also, many language apps use gamification to make learning fun and engaging. You can earn points, compete with friends, and unlock new levels as you progress, which keeps you motivated to keep practicing. Watching movies and listening to music in English can be incredibly helpful in overcoming the fear of speaking. They expose you to natural conversation and diverse accents, which helps you become more comfortable with the language.
Yes, and it's enjoyable. When you watch a movie, you can pay attention to how characters express themselves, including their tone, body language, and expressions. This can enhance your understanding of conversational English.
Exactly. You can also pause the movie and practice repeating lines. It's like having a conversation with the characters. This repetition can really help build your confidence and improve your pronunciation.
Listening to music is another great way to learn. You can sing along to your favorite songs, which is not only fun but also helps with rhythm and fluency in speaking.
And don't forget about discussing the movies and songs with friends. This way, you can share your thoughts and feelings about them, further practicing your speaking skills in a relaxed environment. Another effective strategy to overcome the fear of speaking English is to seek constructive feedback from friends, teachers, or language partners. Knowing how you can improve can help you feel more confident.
Yes, when you ask for feedback, you're taking a proactive approach to your learning. It shows you're willing to improve, which can reduce anxiety because you're focusing on growth rather than perfection.
Exactly. Constructive feedback can highlight your strengths and the areas you need to work on. For instance, a friend might tell you that your pronunciation has improved, which can boost your confidence.
And when you know what to focus on, you can practice those specific areas without feeling overwhelmed by everything at once. It makes the learning process much more manageable.
Additionally, it can be encouraging to hear positive feedback. Sometimes we don't realize how much we've improved, and a little encouragement can make a huge difference in how we view our speaking abilities. One of the most important lessons in overcoming the fear of speaking English is to embrace your mistakes. Making errors is a natural part of learning, and it can actually help you grow.
Absolutely. When you make a mistake, instead of feeling embarrassed, try to see it as a stepping stone. Each error is an opportunity to learn something new, whether it's a vocabulary word or a grammatical structure.
Yes, and when you shift your mindset to view mistakes as learning opportunities, it takes away a lot of the pressure. You start to understand that everyone makes mistakes, even native speakers.
Exactly. I remember a time when I was speaking with a native English speaker and I mispronounced a word. Instead of correcting me right away, they used it in a sentence to help me learn. It was a great experience.
That's a perfect example. Instead of being afraid of making mistakes, we should appreciate the learning process. It helps us become more resilient and more willing to speak up. Setting realistic goals can also help you overcome your fear of speaking English. By breaking down your learning into achievable steps, you can make the process less intimidating.
Exactly. For example, instead of saying, I want to be fluent in English, you could set a goal like, I want to have a 5-minute conversation in English this week. That's much more manageable.
Right, and once you achieve a small goal, celebrate it. This reinforces positive feelings about speaking and encourages you to tackle the next goal.
Yes, and as you build on these small successes, your confidence will grow. Eventually, those small conversations will lead to longer and more complex discussions.
Additionally, setting goals related to specific skills like vocabulary or pronunciation can help you focus your practice and make the process feel less overwhelming. Another great way to overcome your fear of speaking is to practice with a language buddy. Finding someone to practice with can provide a supportive environment.
Definitely. A language buddy can be a friend or someone you meet online who is also learning English. You can take turns speaking and provide feedback to each other. Definitely. A language buddy can be a friend or someone you meet online who is also learning English. You can take turns speaking and provide feedback to each other. This peer support can really boost your confidence. You're more likely to take risks and practice speaking when you know you're with someone who understands the struggle. Exactly. Plus, you can schedule regular practice sessions, which gives you something to look forward to and helps establish a routine.
And during these sessions, you can share tips, practice real-life scenarios, and even role-play different situations to make it fun and engaging. Participating in English speaking events can be a fantastic way to build your confidence. Many communities host language exchange nights or speaking clubs where you can practice in a friendly environment.
Absolutely. These events often attract people who are also learning, so everyone is there to support one another. It creates a relaxed atmosphere for practicing.
Yes, you'll get the chance to meet different people and engage in diverse conversations. This exposure helps you become more adaptable in your speaking.
Plus, many of these events include fun activities or games that make speaking less intimidating and more enjoyable. You're practicing without even realizing it.
And these events can also lead to new friendships, providing you with even more opportunities to practice English outside of the event. Engaging in online forums and social media groups is another effective way to overcome the fear of speaking English. These platforms provide a less intimidating space to express your thoughts and ideas in English.
Exactly. On platforms like Reddit or Facebook, you can join groups focused on English language learning. You can start discussions, ask questions, and interact with others who share your interests.
Yes, plus, the written format allows you to take your time to think about what you want to say before posting. This reduces the immediate pressure that comes with speaking.
Absolutely. And once you feel more comfortable writing, you can transition into video or voice chats with members of the group. This gradual exposure helps ease the anxiety of speaking.
Additionally, many language learners share their own experiences and challenges online. Reading their stories can inspire you and make you realize you're not alone in your journey.
Exactly. Online interactions can provide a supportive community where you can practice speaking without the fear of judgment. The more you engage, the more confident you'll become.
Finally, reflecting on your progress is essential for overcoming the fear of speaking English. Taking the time to acknowledge how far you've come can be incredibly motivating. Definitely, consider keeping a language journal where you document your experiences, challenges, and milestones. This way, you can look back and see how much you've improved over time. Yes, celebrating small victories is important. Even if it's something as simple as having a short conversation with a stranger or understanding a movie without subtitles, those moments matter.
And don't forget to reflect on your mistakes too. Instead of viewing them negatively, think about what you learned from each experience and how it can help you in the future.
Absolutely, this mindset shift can help you become more resilient and less fearful of speaking. It encourages you to keep pushing your boundaries.
In conclusion, remember that everyone has their own learning journey. The fear of speaking English is something many people face, but by applying these strategies, you can build your confidence and become a more fluent speaker.
In this episode, we explored practical strategies to overcome the fear of speaking English. From embracing mistakes and setting realistic goals to engaging in online forums and reflecting on progress, each tip can help you build confidence and improve your speaking skills. Remember, consistent practice and a supportive environment are key to overcoming your fears and achieving your language goals. Tune in next time for more helpful insights on your English learning journey.